So, what would your last meal be?
This answer is a little bit strange, but if I know it's my last meal, it would be nuts. Because let me give you some background on this. I am allergic to nuts, and it's really strange, but I crave something that I've never eaten before. So if I really knew that it was my last meal, I would try a lot of different things because that'll be my only opportunity.
Welcome to Critical Thinking Required, hosted by LBW. This podcast is intended for free thinkers, entrepreneurs, and knowledge seekers. Join us as we discuss relevant financial topics, explore with guests their financial journeys, and engage with experts in industries such as space, media and entertainment, real estate, and many more. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Welcome to Critical Thinking Required. You're with your host, myself, Tim Bickmore, and my colleague, Nathaniel Leach. And today we have a special guest, Kahl, our financial planning analyst, who was also an intern with us over the spring semester. She is now working for us full-time over the summer. And we're really excited to have her on because we want to introduce her to our clients, our viewers, and anybody else who wants to listen. So, Caroline, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we got some questions that we're going to go back and forth on, and we're just gonna dive into it. But the question we always like to start with: what is your full legal name for the record?
My name, full legal name, Caroline Louise Kahl. Family name all the way through.
Family name all the way through? I got to explain that then. Where does it come in?
Caroline, I'm named after my grandma, and then Louise is both my mother and my grandmother's middle names. So
Awesome.
Caroline from my dad's side, Louise from my mom's side.
Okay. And the spelling is Kahl, but pronounced Kahl.
Yes, it is
All right.
confusing.
Okay, it confuses me sometimes, so I have to always match it up. Where were you born?
I was born in Madison, grew up in Oregon, Wisconsin, which is about 5-10 miles south of Madison. Lived there my whole life, same house until I went to school at UW-Madison.
What are some of just your favorite pastimes? Like, what do you do on your free time? What do you like? What do you like to do?
I have a lot of pastimes, a lot of hobbies that I like to do. I like to go fishing or just spend any time out on the boat on a summer day. I also like to spend a lot of time outside with my dog.
What kind of dog do you have?
He comes with on the boat too.
Okay, what kind of dog?
He's a lab, a yellow
How
lab.
old? How
He's
old?
a year old.
Okay, all right. And what's his name?
His name's Dasher because he was born on Christmas, so we named him after a reindeer. We call him Dash most of the time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that name. Okay, all right. And then, so you mentioned kind of some of your favorite pastimes, fishing. Do you have any other hobbies outside of that, or is there other hobbies? There's a lot. So any hobbies that you like to do? Gardening, anything like that? I think you mentioned to me a few times.
Gardening. And this spring, I'm taking a full dive into it. Very exciting. I have some sweet corn popping up in my garden right now. Every evening when I go home, I spend some time out there weeding because every day there's more weeds, always.
Who taught you your green thumb? Or is that just you naturally like, hey, I love to get out?
Yeah, I think I just love to get out there, and sometimes things don't work out and that's okay. But I've learned a lot from my mom throughout the years.
Nice.
I've always loved to help her garden since I was a kid. So I've recently taken over a little bit more the past couple of years, and I really enjoy it.
Okay. Nathaniel, I'll pass it off to you. I know you got a couple of questions.
Thanks, Tim. So my first question for you, Caroline, is what did you want to be when you grew up?
Growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher, actually, since I was a kid. It's something, obviously, that you're exposed to. Going through elementary school, middle school, I was exposed to teachers. I had a lot of teachers that had a huge impact on my life. I loved learning, and So growing up, I always just thought that it would be my path.
So what changed?
Well, in high school, I think about my junior year or so, I realized that there were a lot of other opportunities out there, a lot of other jobs, some of which I had never even heard of. I was encouraged by my parents to explore some other areas, and I did that a little bit. I was still spending time tutoring students in high school, and I loved it. I tutored first graders and seventh graders. Really enjoyed it. So my plan going into college was still to be a teacher, but now I had this thing hanging over me. Maybe I should explore other options. So I went into college, applied thinking, yes, I want to go into education. And then I heard about the personal finance program and thought, wow, this sounds really cool. I think I'm going to check that out. I ended up reading a couple books over the summer after my freshman year. And I thought, absolutely, this is what I want to do. So I took my first class, which introduced me to a lot of careers in the personal finance realm. And I thought, hey, there's a lot of things that I can do here, a lot of things I think I would enjoy, career paths. And that's when I made the switch officially.
Okay. So I think that answers my next question, which is what are you studying at college? Because for our listeners, Caroline is still technically in college, but she's working full time with us this summer and will be working with us into the fall as well. And then she's going to be coming on with us in January, starting January officially next year, full time once she graduates. So that all being said, how do you find financial planning relevant, or personal finance relevant now versus in the past? And then maybe we'll touch on the future as well.
Well, I definitely think right now it's more relevant than ever. My major is personal finance with an emphasis on financial planning. So going throughout school couldn't be more relevant to my current position as a financial planning analyst. It really touches on what I've learned throughout school. And yeah, it also just really connects with my life even outside of work. And I really enjoy learning about my own personal finances and having that solid foundation of different financial topics.
What have you noticed? Have you noticed anything different from your curriculum in school to what you have so far experienced here with us at LBW Wealth Management?
I think there are some things that have ended up being different so far. First thing that comes to mind for me would be that in school, we are so focused on doing all of the calculations by hand, figuring out things like cash flow, running the numbers, saying here's the client's information, all of their accounts, everything that's going on, and then figuring out how to analyze all of that by hand. Whereas here, I spend a lot of time putting that information into software that does some of that legwork for me. And it's really nice that I have the foundation from college to know where they're getting those numbers from, because then if I see something's a little bit off, okay, let's backtrack here. Let's see where we're getting these numbers from, what happened, what changed, is something wrong? And then also with the software doing more of the legwork, it gives me more time to focus on other things too, in regard to the planning process, which I really like.
What advice would you give someone who is entering college and who is studying the personal finance major? So somebody who is younger than you and getting into school and wanting to get into this line of work.
I would definitely say push yourself as much as you can from the start. The first few classes in the major lay a really solid foundation for what's to come, that so you learn a lot of more basic topics and then you can build on them. And it's really easy to build on them, or a lot easier to build on them after you have that solid foundation to start. And then also outside of that, I definitely recommend doing outside research outside of your actual curriculum. I think that it's beneficial to hear from different sources and not just from these textbooks, because there's a lot of different ways to do things. People have different opinions, different views on various topics in personal finance. And so I think it's really beneficial to get some other opinions as well, or inputs.
Thank you for that. Okay. Tim, back to you.
All right. So as Caroline knows, whenever she talks to me, I always ask bigger questions, things that she has to think about. So this one's a bigger one, has nothing to do with college or even financial planning, but I like to ask it because I'm always curious on what people have to say. But what failures do you cherish the most?
I had a difficult time with this question when I was asked this question the first time. I think it's something that takes a lot of thought. And what I came up with was the failure that I had was I spent a lot of time planning for my future. And I had this vision in my head of what was going to happen and how my future was going to play out. And it did not end up like that. So that's sort of a failure in a sense, because my plans fell through. However, it taught me a lot. It taught me to go with the flow. It taught me that life is unexpected. Things unexpected happen in life. Sometimes for the best, sometimes for the worst. There's no way that you can plan for every single outcome, but all you can do is be prepared for different things to come at you and know that that happens, and that happens a lot. So yeah, that's my failure that I cherish the most. I tried my best to plan for the future. I still do. Obviously, I love planning. I love financial planning. I like to prepare for what I think could happen and put myself in the best position going forward, no matter what happens.
Speaking from a true planner, I love it. That's a great one. That's really, really good. I love that. It really is coming from a true planner. Now you know why you like this job, because there's a lot to deal with that, and you learn from those kind of things, which is awesome. My next question goes more to, and I always am curious on this question as well from people, but who are some of your greatest mentors in life?
This one's another difficult one for me, just because I've had so many mentors in my life, but I cannot pick between my two sisters and my parents. All four of them have had such an amazing impact on my life, each in different ways. My older sister, Amy, she's the oldest, and she was an amazing mentor. She still is for me. She, again, went to school for something, started out, didn't love it, went back, reevaluated, and said, oh yeah, there are other things out there. So she is one of the people that helped me realize that there were other opportunities outside of teaching. And I'm really thankful for that, because where I am now, I am in a very good place and I really enjoy what I'm doing now. And I'm really excited for the future. So yeah, definitely my sisters and my parents.
I won't force you to pick on this one. I'll let them all be. They're saying all mentors are good. So that's awesome. I won't force you to pick. Sometimes when Caroline in the office be like, Caroline, we got to select at least one answer, but this one you can have all four.
Yeah, they're all great mentors in their own ways. So that's awesome. Why I can't compare them against each other.
Okay, touche. I respect that. So this one might be a little bit difficult for you. I'm going to rephrase it a little bit than we typically ask, just because this is kind of new for you. The industry is relatively new. You have a good idea of what the industry looks like from schooling, and then obviously coming on board with us. But I am curious with what bothers you most about our industry in general, and then B would be, what kind of problems have you seen where financial concepts are misutilized or not utilized? And that could be from with friends, knowing what you've learned in school. It could just be in general, just out of curiosity on those two questions.
So first, I would say put quite a bit of thought into this question as well. It's kind of difficult without having a lot of experience in the industry to answer, as you said. But one thing that sticks out for me is that there aren't many things in personal finance that are a one size fits all for every client or every household. It really requires personalization in a lot of different aspects. What works for one individual or what works for one household will not probably work for everyone. I almost guarantee it will not work for everyone. I can't say guarantee, but it's very unlikely that one's plan will apply to every single situation or even two situations. So having the mindset that you can push out a report that'll be the same for each client and you don't have to dive in and visit their goals, their wants, their personal situation. I think that's where the industry falls short sometimes. And then as far as problems where financial concepts are misutilized, one thing that I think is really difficult to understand until you do a deep dive into it is credit scores. That's something that I have noticed. Oh, don't do X, your credit score will go down, or who cares, you know, it really depends. But yeah, that's all I got on that one.
Out of curiosity, Caroline, and you probably see them, and I don't, so that's why I'm asking. Do you see personal financial TikToks that make you cringe, knowing that you've studied? Have you come across anything where you're like, ugh, I don't know if that's what people should be promoting? Have you found any of those?
Yes, actually, I have. I run across them quite frequently, actually. One thing that sticks out to me is when people really push Roth conversions for everyone and say, this is the best option. Everyone needs to do a Roth conversion right now. And I don't think that's the case. Like I said, personalization. Does that really apply to your situation? Is that really the best option for you? I don't know. Let's do a deeper dive and run some numbers and we can figure it out. But I wouldn't say as an umbrella, everyone needs to do Roth conversions, but I have seen that on the internet so many times.
Yeah, the answer is maybe. It makes sense, right? That's always the answer. Maybe, I don't know. Let's not isolate this one question, given the whole picture. I like it. Okay, good. So here's my last one before I turn it over to Nathaniel, and he'll finish us up on a few more questions. Tell us something a little fun, weird, different about you that we don't know yet.
So you kind of already know this about me, but okay. I love organizing things. It is my weird thing about me, for sure. It's definitely not something that everyone enjoys, but it's been a part about me since I was a kid. I have always loved to organize. And one story comes to mind is when I was about 10 years old, sleeping over at my friend's house, and we decided to get up at 5:30 in the morning the next day to organize her playroom to surprise her mom when she got up.
That's
and
amazing.
We did. We organized it and it was so fun, which is the strange part. Some people don't find that fun, but I do. And so I spend a lot of time doing that in my free time too, and helping others, which I enjoy.
That's amazing. I love that story. And I will admit that, yes, I mean, you may haven't spoken it out loud at the office, but you can definitely tell that you like to organize, which is a good thing.
I'm glad you think so.
So what is the most favorite place you have traveled to and why?
I had a difficulty with this question too. Had a couple of different places that I really liked, but had to pick, and I did. Sanibel Island, Florida. Either of you ever been there?
Never heard of it.
Well, I definitely recommend it if you enjoy going to the beach and if that is a source of relaxation for you. It is this sweet little island in Florida that's actually followed by Captiva Island. So that's equally, I like them equally because they're essentially very similar places. But I went there with my family a couple times, and it's just, life is so laid back there. You can bike around the whole island, and we did, and I loved it. It was my definition of relaxation, and I know that isn't for everyone's, but for me it was, and that's why it's my favorite place.
So, what would your last meal be?
This answer is a little bit strange, but if I know it's my last meal, it would be nuts. Because let me give you some background on this. I am allergic to nuts and peanuts. So almonds, pecans, cashews, all of them. And I've always wanted to try them. And it's really strange, but I crave something that I've never eaten before. So if I really knew that it was my last meal, I would try a lot of different things, pecan pie, all of it. Because that'll be my only opportunity.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
If that were the case, if I could eat a meal before then, I would have my dad's homemade ribs and some of my mom's homemade banana bread.
Oh, banana bread. Oof.
Without nuts.
Obviously.
Or
yes.
I could try it with nuts and see how
I was going to say, yeah, that would be a part of the nuts, right? Yeah. That would be a nice lead in into all the nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great answer. How, in your opinion, how does a person help another, best help another?
I think that a person can best help another by trying to understand their situation first. See where they're coming from before trying to attack whatever their situation is. If they have a problem that they're struggling with and they need some help, rather than diving in and trying to just fix it right away, I would try to take a step back and say, okay, what's going on here? How are you feeling? Because maybe the best help could just be some emotional support and not necessarily fixing their problems for them.
Took me about 11 years to figure that out after I met Ying. It's good, solid answer.
I've known quite a few people that come to me to help me with my problems when I don't necessarily always need help with the problem right away, but more someone to talk through the problem with or just vent to. So that's kind of how I learned that myself.
Social skills, very important. Yeah.
Definitely.
So how has your experience at LBW been so far? Any highlights, lowlights, anything?
Well, it's been great so far. Honestly, I wasn't totally sure what to expect coming into this, but the fact that I came on full time for the summer and I'll be coming on after I graduate again kind of proves that I really enjoyed my time here. I think my favorite thing so far has been how friendly and welcoming everyone is at the office 24/7. It's amazing coming in as an intern and feeling like an actual part of the team and not somebody who's just there, not valued as much as everyone else. That's definitely my favorite part because that was something that I was afraid about starting my internship anywhere that I would have gone. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite part. And I'm just so excited to continue working here.
We're excited to have you. So with that, we're going to move into our round robin. So I'm going to go first, then Tim, and then we're going to finish with Caroline. So for me, Caroline, I have a confession. Every time somebody says your name, like and either you're present or you're not, I want to break out into song and sing "Sweet Caroline." Ba ba ba. Da, da, da. I've been holding that back ever since I found out your name. No joke. So for our viewers and listeners, I have had a lot of patience in saving it for this podcast. Okay. I just want that to be on the record. Okay. It's been great hearing your answers to some of these questions. Just getting to know more about you. I don't have as much involvement with you as we well know, but from what interaction I have had, it's been great getting to know you, and I look forward to getting to know you more over time. Tim?
Oh, Caroline, I'm going to echo Thany's words that it's been a pleasure just to have you here, and with the internship and coming on full time, you have done really, really well, and we just appreciate your time and your willingness to come on board. You've really been a nice addition to the team in a lot of different ways. I'm not joking about the organizational piece. You have a lot of good ideas on that. It's not always my strong suit, so I'm like, hey, let's do it. If you have a better idea, let's make it happen. But throughout the questions, in general, I think I really, really liked your failure question. I really like that answer. It reminds me a lot of me. I think Caroline and I have spoken a lot in the past when we sit down and have our one-on-one chats, where I can sometimes see a lot of Caroline in me in a lot of different ways. And so I can totally empathize and understand that type of failure. And sometimes it is hard when you are a planner and things don't go the way that you want it to go. You kind of have to look in the mirror and be like, hey, was that a failure? Was it not? Or do I have to adjust and shift? And I think your idea of coming to positioning is huge. Like, that's such a big awakening in life in general, regardless of just what we do in our own profession, because it helps eliminate some of the stress of always having to have things planned. Now, if you want to go and talk to my family or my significant other, they'll probably tell you that, yeah, that's what he's like. So, I'm not just lying about that. But it is really nice, and it's a great answer. I think it shows a lot of maturity at your age, which is huge, because you still have a ton of life to learn and experience and do different things. So I really, really enjoyed that one. And I was laughing a lot with like their last meal, like the banana bread. I was just thinking about it, like, that's just a taster to get into the other nuts. Hopefully you could last long enough, if that was your last meal, to like really try all these things. Maybe you do a couple EpiPens just in case, just so you could get maybe more into it, so you could try all of it. But it is a very unique answer that I really do enjoy. So that's also is unexpected, I guess would be the best way to say that. But again, we just appreciate you coming on board, and we appreciate you talking to our listeners. But I will let you have the last say, and you can talk about whatever you'd like, and then we'll kind of close it up.
Well, thank you both. I've really appreciated being here, being on the podcast, and also being able to learn from both of you and everyone here, and feeling so welcomed. I've really appreciated my time here so far, and I'm very excited to continue and stay here in the future.
Awesome, Caroline. Well, thank you to all our listeners and our viewers. We really appreciate you tuning in and listening to a few people talk about things that they love and learning more about Caroline. We're really excited to have her on board and to continue to have her on board going into the future. Everyone have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to start your journey of thinking differently and listening to LBW talk about stuff they love. Until next time.